Hello and welcome to an ultra special edition of On the Other Hoof. I say ultra special because the racing is especially bad. I think we can all agree with that. It's not amazing, it's competitive fields. We should be able to find a few winners, we hope, anyway. And to do that, I'm joined by Adam Webb and Callum Liddell. Hello, chaps.
Hello.
We have some below average, I'd say, racing from Cheltenham and Doncaster. There are some horses to follow, though, in it. One of them that's engaged in both meetings for Adam. He's back for the RSA in March, so we'll be finding out that a bit later. But a consensus about how good the racing is tomorrow, Adam?
It's not the best. Last week, I thought we were treated in a way. I mean, we had the Beach Chase and the Tingle Creek. I mean, both of them obviously had their sad postscripts, but this week, when I looked at it at 5 day stage, it didn't look promising. And looking at it now, you can tell it's all geared towards, well, obviously it's geared towards Christmas first of all, but it's obviously mainly geared towards March now, and it's getting to the point where you're getting uncompetitive fields every week in, week out, and it's a bit ridiculous, really.
It's not the best. I'd ask you how good it is, but I think
you know exactly.
You'd be going on for about half an hour about.
I've been going on for about 5 years about.
There is that, yeah, there is that, and I've only known you for 1.5.
Yeah,
it feels like 10. So, but well, we've got a competitive race up first, but as always, On the Other Hoof is not a family show at all. But if you would like to get involved, you can tweet us at On the Other Hoof. We'll read out every single tweet that you guys send in, whether it's a question, whether it's a fancy for tomorrow. If it is a question, then we'll answer it to the best of our ability. Adam's ability isn't too high, though. Going into the first race at Cheltenham, it's the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. It's a Grade 3 handicap chase for 2 miles and 5 furlongs. I have to blow my trumpet here. I napped Double Ross in this last year, about 12 to 1.
Oh.
So, I am napping in this again this year.
Oh my word.
Well, you know, I'm great. Sometimes. Well, we have no Tatanen today. Tatanen is a non-runner. It was around a 16 to 1 mark anyway, so it shouldn't affect the market too much. But the favourite, Adam, is a horse that you've previously got beaten in novice events in Cad de Burle.
I got him beat several times, and the one time I didn't put him up or didn't even want to touch him, he goes and wins a Paddy Power on ground that I thought was unfavourable for him. The rise in the weights actually seems a bit lenient for me, and I know he's in a top weight here, but I think he can carry the weight, and the ground is no issue for him tomorrow, and I think he is the one to beat. Anyone that got on Barra Killer at, I think it was 25s earlier in the week, well done to you, and he is price-wise at 11 to 2, so all the value went earlier in the week, and I think he's got a big chance based on his combat run at Sandown, where I think he needed the run, and he is entitled to come on for it plenty. The only other horse that actually... There were 2 others that gave me slight interest, and they both ran in the Paddy Power, which were Eric's and Edgardo Sol. Both of them looked to want better ground, and Edgardo Sol in particular travelled really well that day. In each way price, I put Edgardo Sol up.
Edgardo Sol, really?
Yeah, it's just the way he travelled in the Paddy Power. He went really well for a long way, and also in the Old Rowan as well. He went well. Apart from that, he seemed to want to jump the inside of every fence and clip the fence wing with him off the fences.
I think clipped is
I think
being
slipping
nice.
down the handicap, he could run a big race.
Yeah. For me, it's not an especially good race. Against Cad de Burle, I was against him in the Paddy Power. Adam put him up months in advance, and of course didn't back it. We could say he Adam webbed it. I think we can say
he
definitely Adam webbed it on that front.
To be fair, my judgment skills must be good.
No. I'm with At a Glance for Malcolm Jefferson here. Callum's tried to warn me off this week, but it's the first time I've actually gone in and actually backed At a Glance, to my memory anyway. So this is a learning experience for me. But you remember back in the novice handicap on day 1 of the festival, I have down as horrifically unlucky. Brian Hughes, I don't think it was his finest hour whatsoever when going inside to try and take the rail when there was really only one horse width there. Present View went over to the rail, squeezed out At a Glance, who then had to switch outside and started staying on really well, just ran out of time. I think he was an unlucky loser of that. He then went on to a handicap hurdle. Just forget about that. But he made a pleasing enough reappearance at Market Raisin when 5th. He was only beaten 5.5 lengths by Mark Lane. That was a fairly messy race as well. He was engaged in the Paddy Power, didn't take up that engagement. He comes here off the handicap mark of 143. I don't think it's particularly badly handicapped. I think he could be much better than this. Not graded level really. He was highly tried over hurdles after winning the Martin Pipe, and then a handicap hurdle at Aintree, but he's not that class. Maybe with fences he might be a tad better, but off a mark of 143, I think it's still very lenient. The point that I'm accepting from Callum's side of him is that he's probably going to be more of a 3-miler, and he probably is more of a 3-miler right now. So he'd appreciate a strong enough pace, which is probably a negative that Tatanen isn't turning up today. But I'm giving at a glance a go over. This 2 mile 5 around Cheltenham is fairly stamina sapping, so it's not too much of a worry for me. But yeah, I'm with at a glance. You're against tomorrow, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I think you'll be thereabouts. He's just not the kind of race that I can see him landing that prize. I think he's due a big prize over fences, without doubt. But he's also, I think, wants 3 miles on a flatter track on a less stamina testing track. I think 3 miles around Cheltenham will be too much for him. But tomorrow, I think he'll run well. Looking at the race, I don't think there's that much pace in it. So yeah. I think potentially it might not be the stiffest of tests that it usually is, because it's usually run on quite bad ground as well. So
they may even try making it.
Yeah,
he usually runs handy.
Easter Meteor probably go along and make his own money.
In the novice handicap at the festival, he was very handy. He was in the top 3, approaching the top of the hill down the far side. So
yeah,
maybe.
I'm not sure. I just don't think he's going to be strongly run. For that reason, I think Sky de Burle is well worth opposing. And the other 2 of the others that won last time out, Dana and Nice One Frankie, without doubt, I think worth opposing. No buts less so. I thought he was really impressive and jumped really well at Newbury. I think he's got a good chance, and that form with Barracilla from Sandown, I think is the best on show. So they're the 2 for me. I think they're standout in this race. One at a price, I think we were talking earlier, Splash of Ginge, I think could run well. He just reminds me of Double Ross last year, and he's taken a little bit of a while to take to fences. He was a good hurdler, probably a better hurdler, well, clearly a better hurdler than what Double Ross was. He's a much higher rated chaser already than what Double Ross is, but he won this last year, and Splash of Ginge, I think, could run a career best tomorrow. I'd be surprised if he didn't actually, if he didn't run a career best over the
Double
fences.
Ross is rated higher than him, isn't he?
Yeah.
Splash of Ginge.
Yeah. Double Ross is rated higher than Splash of Ginge, isn't he?
Well, no, it is, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about this stage last year?
No, I think Splash of Ginge will run a career best to that tomorrow.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Better ground will help Splash of Ginge as well. I thought he was thinking in the glue pot as it was last time, and his course and not really course and distance wing, because it was on the old course. I thought that was a really good performance, so I think he could run well as well.
And Hatch is good for 5, so
yeah, definitely. And he rode him in the best as well.
Barracilla looks the best handicap horse in the race to me.
Shame he's got Paul Maloney on board.
Well, yeah, not the most ideal of jockey bookings, but
I don't get it. They've got Adam Wedge there. Why not use Adam Wedge?
Well, this isn't your starters' orders, is it? So
no,
Barracilla.
Adam Wedge is very good on that game.
Barracilla, I'll put up for a win and Splash of Ginger's way.
Fair enough. The 215 at Doncaster is our next port call. The Bet 365 Summit Juvenile Hurdle. It's a Grade 2 by name and name only. 2 miles and 110 yards is the Peace and Co. Not Peace and Go is the favourite for this. Adam, we don't know too much about her though.
We don't, but I went on to Wikipedia and watched his debut effort at Clairefontaine, and he was really impressive. He jumped really well. His hurdling was really good that day. The only slight concern I had was after the last, he was given a tap with the whip and he went to the left. But apart from that, if he doesn't do that tomorrow, he should be the one to beat. I mean, Starkitect has got good form already. I mean, the first run at Bangor, oh my word, that was one of the weirdest juvenile hurdles I've ever seen in my life, where everything tried to refuse at the second. And at Aintree, he did it well against Unanimite, but I think Unanimite that day wasn't at his best because he doesn't want to make the running, as comments post-race alluded to. Maracuja was second in the race that Benito de Berlin Kalkirk were in, but then seemed to have regressed after that. And he's an interesting runner, but it's a no-bet race. And I personally think Peace and Co should win, but it's not a race that... I think the juvenile hurdle at Cheltenham is more interesting personally, but yeah.
I have been reliably informed by the guys in our production gallery that Peace and Co. isn't a woman anymore.
Yeah.
And it's now in fact a girl thing.
I wonder why you were calling it a female. I'm thinking, hang on a minute.
I can't remember what. Earlier on, I was looking at this horse and I was like, oh, didn't know it was a mare or a filly. It was like, apparently, it wasn't Peace and Co. I'll give it that. So little to say about this race. Peace and Co. Solid form coming from France. The odds-on favourite wouldn't have to be a world beater by any stretch of the imagination to be winning this. Starter Tech is not a world beater at all. Improving possibly on with hurdling experience, but that debut effort at Bangor was laughable, really, and I don't think that's being too harsh. So it may not have been his fault per se, because everything did try and refuse at least 2 hurdles in the race, but he's got to progress a lot to be landing grade 2 tomorrow, especially if Peace and Co. is any good, really. Maracuja, fun fact about Maracuja, he's a half-brother to Molotov, who you may remember being a useful horse for Nicky Henderson a couple of seasons ago, now trained in America at the same yard that Humble was at. But it's a complete no-bet race for me at all. I couldn't persuade anyone to put any money on this at all. Peace and Co. probably the most likely winner, so the market seems to go its on there. But your turn.
No, I've got nothing to add. It's an avoid race.
I mean,
betting wise, it is. I mean, it's informative.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you don't know anything about the French horses, then there's just no reason to have a bet in this race, because it clearly revolves around those lot. I mean, the McCain horse just doesn't jump well enough. I'm worried about the ground as well, because it's just so well bred. It's just, I think it's just these stars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Startech. And now on a worse ground than what it's been on. I'll be worried. So one of the Frenchies, but I don't know what it's called.
One of the Frenchies. The next race we have a bit more of an idea about the 2:35 at Cheltenham, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, registered as the Bristol Novices Hurdle, grade 2, over 3 miles. This sees the return of Blackline, who was a bit disappointing last time when beaten Adam, when really he should have been up to winning that kind of race.
I think that day, though, I'm not going to blame Jamie Moore completely, but he had to set his own pace, and he was basically outdone by a horse that had won a Melrose on the flat, I think, back in 2011 in Parlour Games. Tomorrow he doesn't have to make the running. I think the step up in trip will help. He's got Parish Business there to make the running, who I think is more than useful himself, and gave Fletcher's Flyer a good race to Ascot a couple of weeks ago. Interesting to note, Port Mellon's got first-time cheap pieces on. He is another I think will appreciate the step up to 3 miles, but I think Black Lion's class over hurdles anyway should show through, and I think he is the one to beat.
After his last effort, I so nearly backed Port Mellon for the RSA, which I'm really glad that I didn't now.
He's got an interesting handicap mark, though, I thought, Port Mellon. He was entering the 10th qualifier at Newbury, and I thought that would have been an interesting route to go down with him, but I don't think they are now. We'll see where he ends up, but I thought we've gone chasing.
He's definitely one for the future, isn't he?
Definitely.
It's a 7-year-old when going novice chasing next season, unless it's getting a bit late now for to really go novice chasing.
He may go chasing in the new year.
Yeah, but he's definitely one for the future. I think Blackline's the most likely winner tomorrow. He's got to give £7 to Port Mellon, which is a slight worry if you take their form of the last race at Cheltenham, but I think a step up to 3 miles is perfect for Blackline. I think he was just beaten by a faster horse last time. Jamie Moore, you could point the finger and say it wasn't his finest hour, but he was at the front. He rode his horse as well as he could. I thought he just found one too good, and that one happened to have a decent turn of foot, and he won very nicely. So it could just be that Parlour Games is the best horse in that race. But if he'd have kicked a bit earlier, he might have stolen the march on John Ferguson's horse, but I'm not sure. Before that, though, he looked like a very, very good horse, and he still looks like a high-quality animal. But up to 3 miles, I think, will help him. 5 to 4 is a bit short in the market for me. 6 to 4, you can see on the Racing Post apps. That'd be a bit more of a price I'd be willing to take. I am worried about Port Mellon. I have to say, if the cheap pieces do bring out any kind of improvement in Port Mellon, then we could see a completely different animal, and he's already a 132 rated creature. So if he steps forward once more, then he could be very interesting, but it'll be boring. But I'm going to have to side with Black Lion. You're going against Black Lion?
Yeah, I like Port Mellon. Just thought he really badly needed that return run, whereas Black Lion had a fitness advantage already having a run. Portmelon came off the bridle quite a long way out, and in what was clearly a speed test, especially at the trip, he just wasn't seen to best effect. And I'm sure both of them will improve for this trip. They both suggest that they're going to improve for it and stay it. So it's going to be close between the two. They're off the same weights as last time, but Portmelon with the cheek pieces, I think, could find some necessary improvement. And I think 3-1 is pretty fair, considering the price of Blackline at 6-4, and that's the best form in the race. So Portmelon for me, for one of the Goliath horses. I think he can do the job tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's investments. The 250 at Doncaster is up next. The Bet365 December Novices Chase. Now this is a race that's been redirected, from Lingfield. They've staged it for the past few years, but I assume they're taking it away because it usually comes up soft at that meeting at Lingfield. It's still soft in the description here at Doncaster, and it hasn't really attracted a bigger field than it did at Lingfield. So the benefits of moving it tracks remain to be seen so far, Adam.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I had the reasoning down as that the Lingfield meeting tends to be abandoned, and they wanted a fixture that tends to be abandoned less. So that's my reasoning for what I think and why it's got to Doncaster. Now, Luke said earlier on in the video that I backed a horse for the RSA in this race, and I think he's over. On Betfair, he was 200s when I got him, which was is it the last night or the night before? But he's a horse called Virat, and he tried fences last season, but he was not right last year. And then once he's had the Ulster treatment, he has come back a completely different horse. His 2 chase starts this year have been really impressive. I mean, he won during the spell when Nicholls' horses weren't firing. Well, they weren't fit, they weren't this and that, but he beat Deputy Dan on debut this season, and then was really impressive at Haydock. I mean, he jumped the last, and he showed a good turn of foot that day on really bad ground as well. And the thing that I took from that race as well was the fact that I was at Haydock that day getting soaking wet through, and Sam Twiston-Davies came back in with the biggest smile on his face, which says to me that he thinks he was riding a fairly decent animal there. Now, I know he's got other stable mates that are more, I'll say, have got bigger reputations like Safidler and Southfield Theatre, but Virat would not be, for me, out of place in an RSA, and I thought 200s was a bit of a big price for a horse that I think has got a lot to give, and I think he definitely wins tomorrow as well. I mean, you look at the others. I mean, Kaisersberg was good on his chase debut, and Gavin Sheehan from the front will probably give him another peach of a ride, but I just think Virat would be too good for him. Kilalaki, I wasn't convinced by his chase debut. I didn't think he jumped the best, but then I think most of them in that race didn't, and Boone Duma came out today and actually jumped really well against Melodic Rendezvous, and Wakanda won the other day, but I think at the figures and against opposition's got it all to do. I think Virat wins tomorrow.
Yes, it's a race that we've actually spent quite a bit of time talking about since.
Yeah, there's some nice horses in it. I think well, it's a small field, but
I think we've both got a lot of time for all 4 of them.
Yeah, less of Wakanda. I know it's a Smith horse, so you love it.
I like Wakanda, but I think this is out of his class. I don't like the jockey.
Yeah, but the other 3, I think, have potential to be real on top. Well, decent chasers, at least 150 chasers. Virat, can't complain.
2 of them almost already are.
Yeah. I mean, Virat's done really well so far over fences. Just basically at least built on his hurdles form and looks potentially that he can do better. Likewise, Kaisersberg, who's joined Warren Gratics this season and just looks a really good horse now. My worry with him is the ground, because he's always looked a bit better on good to soft ground and generally races on it, so that'd be my worry. Kilalaki, a little bit of a worry about the trip. He hasn't really proven over it, and he's not bred to get much far. I mean, he's not bred to get anywhere near this sort of trip anyway. Yeah. But
we both thought that he last year anyway that he'd benefit from a step up to 3.
Yeah, no, I did. And he was just over the top at Aintree. Wasn't that convinced by him on chasing debut. I think I agree with that. He didn't jump particularly well, but he gets some good weight tomorrow, and I think he'll put it spot on for it. So he'll give his true running tomorrow, and if he runs, I mean, he's going to make a better chaser surely than he was over hurdles. And this is also finished 4th behind Forheen in a Neptune. That's the best form on show over hurdles without any question of a doubt. So if he's better for that run, then I think getting weight from these rivals, I think he'll go well. So I'd like to see him win as well, obviously. But Kilala Key for me. It would have been Kaysersberg if the ground dries up and it's good soft ground. Then I'd definitely fancy Kaysersberg.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go the same route with Kilala Key. I was going to add on top of your Aintree point. He was probably over the top by that point after such a good run in the Neptune when staying on eye-catchingly late on in the race. But as you say, it's probably over the top, but he also was quite unlucky to bump into two good horses and beat that and Cole Harden when stepping up the 3 miles for the first time. I thought he'd make a better chase as well, along with Callum, and also, as mentioned earlier on, I thought he'd be a better horse for stepping up in trip to 3. I have to say there are a few question marks over his jumping after his chase debut, but so many horses you see it in training learn a lot from their chase debut, come on for it, and then really appreciate next time out. I imagine Underso will be another one that does that in the future, just another higher class example. Virac has to become a man, for want of a better term, tomorrow. He's won 2 cute little races where he hasn't really beaten much. Deputy Dan is a good yardstick, but at the moment I'm not willing to allocate him much more than that. Didn't beat a great deal last time out, so I'd want him to go forward and prove his worth tomorrow. And I'm not saying he's not going to do that, because he has what he's beaten. He's won well, and they say you can only beat what's in front of you. But it's not the strongest of Grade 2s tomorrow, but it's by no means a weak race. Kaisersberg beat the well-regarded Blake Mount last time out, so they've all got claims. Even Wakanda's been in brilliant form as of late, and that's with Sue Smith being out of form. He's not going to be good enough tomorrow, one would imagine, but I have a slight preference for Kilala Key. Getting weight from a 5-year-old could be quite a big thing in tomorrow's race, as long as he jumps better, of course, that being the main factor. So Kilala Key for me, and not good for Adam's anti-post bet if we're right.
It was worth a dabble at 200s anyway. I thought it was a silly price, considering the way he did win at Haydock, and I thought it was really impressive. So, if he wins tomorrow, he won't be 200s, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100s.
At least 120s. The next race to cover, the 310 at Cheltenham, is the feature race of the day, the StanJames.com International Hurdle, a Grade 2 of 2 miles and 1 furlong, which sees the return of the new one, who we've already seen twice this season. 8 to 15, Adam. Bit of a short price about the new one, or do you think he's just a cut above these?
I actually do think he is a cut above these. I mean, at Haydock, I took him on because I didn't think his jumping would stand up, but I will admit, actually, it was the best I've seen him jump. And if he does that tomorrow on better ground as well, I think he'll take all the beating, even with a double penalty as well. Vanita is... I'm pleased to see him here. And I thought he ran a really big race in the Greatwood. I mean, there was one part of the race that I did question what Barry Geraghty was doing. I mean, going around the inside was fine. What I wasn't so keen about was when he came into the straight, why he didn't tag over and join the others, instead going up the far side on his own, basically. I think he'll give the new one a race, but the one that I'd be more interested in if I was going to do a forecast is actually Zandyman, who I thought ran really well at Haydock and is entitled to come on plenty for that effort. And I'm not saying he's going to make up into a champion hurdle contender, but he doesn't. I'm not going to say he's got much to find with the new one, but I can see him running a similar race to what he did at Haydock and being within a similar distance if he puts his best foot forward. Whereas Vanita, I think, has got to improve a bit more to go improve his champion hurdle class. Of the rest, Bertimont, I'll give him his credit, actually. When he won at Chepstow, I thought he'd been absolutely murdered by the handicapper, and I thought he wouldn't run another good race all year. But to be fair to him in the elite, he actually ran a really good race. And I could see him running a really good race here as well, and testament again to Dan Skelton. I just couldn't believe how well he ran in the elite. And obviously, we get towards the outsiders, and you look at 100 to 1, you've got the enigmatic character that is Mad Moves, and I know he's going to cause a lot of opinion about him running tomorrow. Personally, I think he deserves one more chance on stuff that I've heard from various people, and if he doesn't start tomorrow, that's it, throw the book at him. But he deserves one more go, that's my opinion.
He doesn't. No.
The interesting thing about Mad Moose is that I heard that he's had back surgery or something.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
Now, if that is true and it was something that's really bothering him, then you can't blame him for not wanting to run.
Yes.
Willing to give him one last chance tomorrow. Not going to be backing him. Willing to give him a slight chance, though. If he doesn't start tomorrow, though, then I'm afraid there's no room for him
Sorry, Lucy.
in the National Hunt game. We were talking earlier on about the protagonists in the race, though, and we agree that there's quite a lot of pace on here, which could find out the new one in Vanita, who at some point or other in their career have had a few jumping issues.
I'm sure it won't find them out.
No, I'm just saying.
They'll be tested.
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
I probably used the wrong expression.
They're not going to lob about Vanita. I mean, the new one, his jumping's never been brilliant, has it? It's just he's quite untidy, but he doesn't lose much ground.
He's never looked like he's going to fall.
No. But he's not. At the same time, he's not binocular. Vanita, yeah, I do think it's quite a poor price, to be honest, 5-2.
Yeah.
I know he's getting £8 and potentially, but he's very much a hype horse now, really, isn't he? I mean, he's not got. Zandyman's got better form than him, if you put it like that, really. And there's a bit of each way thievery here, I think, because with eight runners, you've got Zandyman and Bertamont, who are very likely to be. One of them is going to be finishing third at least.
You'd imagine so.
Then
anyway, yeah.
Bertamont at 16s for a place would be a pretty good bet. You could probably even back both, to be honest, each way, and hope that one of the front two
back on both the place.
Yeah, one of the front two doesn't perform or falls. But those two are going to make it a decent test. I mean, they're both like to go forward, particularly Zandyman, who necessarily leads. And but I've been quite sweet on Bertamont. I think he's a really slick jumper.
Yeah.
And I really like this. He's still only 4, and I think he's got a bit more improvement in him. So, yeah, go on, let's put him up each way at 16s.
Yeah,
I think he could run well. I think he's less. Zandyman seems to really appreciate heavy ground, and I know he goes on better ground, but Bertamont, I think, is better on it. Won't mind rain either. I don't think there is any rain, but
good point though.
Yeah. they're both like any ground. There we go. I could have just said that. Vanita will appreciate a bit better ground. It was horrible at Cheltenham that day.
Yeah, I think again Vanita could go on either. I think he prefers faster ground.
Like if Vanita wins tomorrow and he hadn't won a Greatwood when I had my money on him and cost me hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and he goes and beats the new one, I'm going to be sick.
We'll put railings on top of the house, don't worry. Am I right in saying as well that Alofi has been known to sort of force the pace as well, so he could have a really truly run test here? With,
I think Alofi will be held up tomorrow. I don't think he has to go forward.
Just that in the past he has been known to help force the pace. But yeah, Zandyman and Bertamont are the two that you'd expect up there. Bertamont actually won me over last time. I was sceptical when you two. I think both of you guys put him up in the elite.
I didn't. No.
You put something else up.
The Purple Bear.
No.
Something
that the new one beat it.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Second.
Yeah, that one. Hint of Min, that's the one you put up. Anyway, today's race. Bertamont jumps fantastically. He won me over big time last time out in the elite hurdle. As a 4-year-old, it's a big ask to be taken on these kind of horses, but for third place, I'd say he's got a right chance. He's getting £4 from the new one, King of the Picks, and Zandyman, but level weights with Vanita, you might find it a bit tough, but as Callum mentioned, as long as the 8 remain in there, we're playing for third place. So Bertamont at 16-1 could be a big price, and Zandyman, who ran so well at Haydock, at 10-1 could be a big price.
Mad Moose is going to make. If Mad Moose jumps off, they're going to make the running with him.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's just in case he jumps off. It's something to bear in mind that if he jumps off, he is going to make the running, which is I don't know if he will be able to, but.
Well, we were saying earlier, if they're confident about Mad Moose starting, then 135 has to be a really good handicap mark for him.
Well, yeah, potentially.
Could he poach a lead as well, potentially? Stop it.
He's not a horse worth analysing.
No.
I'm sorry, but I don't get the fascination with him.
No, I'm in the same. Until he proves himself, then he's not really worth, not going to say wasting breath, because that's quite harsh, but over-analysing, we'll say. But I'd be shocked if the new one gets beat tomorrow. I've got a lot of time for Vanita. I've got a lot of respect for him as well, but if the new one loses tomorrow, then
he has to have
well, you may as well give the champion hurdle to Forheen now, but if the new one gets beat tomorrow, then just give it to him and don't bother running the race. So the new one, for me, is probably one of the biggest certainties of the day. The last race to cover, the 3:45 at Cheltenham. It's a short on the other hoof today, with only 6 races to cover. The Osborne House Railkill Hurdle, Grade 2, over 2.5 miles and 110 yards. And of course, this race saw the emergence of more of that last year. Maybe not. Well, there's a couple that could emerge from the race, but you'd think we know enough about them, and that they haven't got as much of a progressive profile as more of that with Lac Fontana and Volney de Taille. But the favourite's Rock on Ruby, Adam. He'd have to go close in his Aintree Hurdle form.
Oh, definitely. If there's no rain, then I think he takes all the beatings tomorrow. I think 2.5 is his trip now over hurdles, and his elite run. At first, I sort of questioned how good it was, but then you realise he's giving away a fair bit of weight to some young progressive hurdlers over a trip that I think is too sharp for him now. And probably, I think it rained as well, and rain softened ground as well. So I think he is definitely the one to beat. Volney de Taille, I thought, ran a really good race in the thick brush. I know he was carrying top weight, and he travelled really well that day. And I just think on that soft ground, 3 miles, I just think found him out at this stage in his career. Got no doubt he will get 3 miles in time, and I think he will pose the main threat. Lac Fontana obviously won the Grade 1 at Liverpool up in trip as well, and he's another one that's interesting. And obviously we'll obviously get to see Faheen's form, the form line with Faheen where he was third. And actually, there is a potential improver in this. If Brother Brian can improve a fair amount.
That's price-wise as well.
Price-wise, there we go. I can see the angle with him, definitely. He's improved a fair amount over hurdles. I remember him in the UBF final where he absolutely clattered the last out of the way. But since then, he's gone on to improve a fair bit and won really nicely, I thought, at Kempton. The outside, the second one, not really infused about. But I think Rock on Ruby should be winning this. It'd be interesting to see where they go for the rest of the year with him, because I have a feeling that I don't think they'll go to Cheltenham with him. I think they're going to wait for Aintree.
We've had quite a few debates about this, actually, with Rock on Ruby, where to go with him. And I backed him when he won the Champion Hurdle, but I backed him on the thought process that his stamina might entitle him to be a staying on third, but he got one of the best rides you've ever seen from Noel Feely that day. So I don't think he's a Champion Hurdle horse anymore. He might not have been a Champion Hurdle horse on that day, but the Aintree Hurdle is
weird to say that.
Yeah, I know.
Horse at Winter Champion Hurdle, but I know what you kind of mean.
It's a really weird thing to say, but it's potentially it's taking nothing away from the horse. Like, well done to him. But the Aintree Hurdle is probably the perfect race for him throughout the season. But if they did want to go to Cheltenham with it, I would not be against them taking him to the World Hurdle. And after the Aintree Hurdle last season, I thought that the World Hurdle would be the perfect race for him. But a few people have question marks about the stamina, and probably rightly so, because he's never been tested as far as stamina goes to sort of 3 miles pushing that. We'll find out a lot more about him tomorrow over an extended 2.5. But until he does prove his stamina, then it's probably not worth talking about the World Hurdle. But I think they've even said that they're not going to go for it. So, but tomorrow, I'd be disappointed if Rock on Ruby couldn't be winning this. Lac Fontana has to take a big step forward in first-time cheek pieces. He ran well enough behind Faheen last time, but is flattered by the distance. He got beaten and Volney de Taille. I think he reminds me of another horse that Nicky Henderson had up till last season, who unfortunately lost his life at Ascot in Chatterbox, where he said that he wasn't ready for Cheltenham, but was sort of forced into running him there because he's been performing at such a high level. Chatterbox even beat My Ton of Yours at one point, but Volney de Taille absolutely sluiced up in that Huntingdon Handicap Hurdle, and really he had to take in a big race. So they went to the fixed brush hurdle at Haydock and came fourth. He ran well enough, but under that weight, I think he was found out. He'll be better in time, but I do think this will come too early for him. I don't think 15 to 8 is the best price whatsoever, and I'd rather be taking Rock on Ruby at 7 to 4. 7 to 4
is a belting price.
That's a really good price about it. All the comments I just said, he's an ex-champion hurdle winner. I mean, there is a lot of class about him. I thought he ran a really good race in the elite hurdle as well. Actually, I don't think the ground was right for him at all, really, and he had to give weight away that day, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, and it's his first run. He wouldn't have been fit. I was surprised how well he ran.
Yeah, I thought he ran with real credit that day. Obviously, probably should have been fourth because Irving came down at the last, but I don't think he did himself a disservice at all at Wincanton. So I'd be disappointed if Rock on Ruby wasn't up to winning this tomorrow.
Yeah, I think 7 to 4 is a great price on Rock on Ruby.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
just echo what you said. Really, he's probably not quite the force he has been, but he's come back since chasing and performed really well. I mean, his entry run is up there with some of his best form, being ahead by the new one.
Yeah, well, the new one probably underperformed that day.
Well, he probably did,
but I mean, you can't take that away from Rock on Ruby.
He's still second best in the race, and he fully deserves his rating of what's 160 now, 170 is prime, but fully deserves that rating. Volnade tie. I was so impressed that Hunter didn't win. He had to be, really. But last time out, I thought he ran a cracker as well. Just 11 days later, he could be very good. He had a tough race though, and Rock on Ruby has a lot better form, and at the same price as they are, then I think Rock on Ruby has to be the selection.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that is all the race previews done today. We'll get to a few questions then. And I spoke to a certain Ryan Ferris, or as we know him on Twitter, on Harbour Watch. Early on the phone, he said that he's just going to send in abuse again, and he's disappointed slightly. But me and Adam have not escaped that.
Let's not read it out because.
Well, I'm gonna. If you can beep out the rude word, that'd be appreciated.
I have to time it right.
It's about Mad Moose. He says you two are talking absolute rubbish. Stop giving the
beep
thing time. If you'd like to see what the rude word was, then you can go on Twitter, but it may offend you because you're easily offended. He also said that the Lingfield car is always called off, which is why the December Novices Chase has been moved, which is what we said. But, yeah, Mad Moose. He'll have his fan club tomorrow, but I don't know. We'll see. Only a few questions in today. Not the biggest day of racing ahead, but Kai Wills says, Juvenile Hurdle tomorrow. I'm a big fan of Hargam, or as he calls him, Hagram, with AP on board. All agree. Probably not a race that I'd be running into the streets to back a horse in.
No, but I think it's a good race.
Yeah. I'd say, actually, Hargam...
Why are we talking about this race?
This is probably one of the better races on the card at Cheltenham tomorrow. Hargam got a weird ride last time. Turning for home, I thought, Parry Garrity wasn't giving him a hard time, so I thought, oh, well, he must be the Fred Winter horse there. But he was an Aga Khan horse back in France and quite highly rated as well. Possibly he didn't like the ground, but he hit the front and then got passed by Golden Doyen, who is a decent enough horse and had the prior experience over hurdles as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs tomorrow. I think AP is going to be a perfect fit for Hargam, if I'm being truthful, but I think the best horse in the race is Stars Over the Sea. He's got a huge engine. He just needs to jump better. He jumped horrifically at Kempton, slightly better at Ludlow last time out, but he looks like he could be something very, very good for David Pipe. However, he's not been winning races of this standard if he jumps the same as he did at Kempton first time out. But 10-3 could be a big price about Stars Over the Sea. You got anything else to add to that, Adam?
I think I agree with you there. I do like Stars Over the Sea. I just wish he'd jump better. I mean, at Kempton, that was a hair-raising round. Ludlow he was slightly better, but he's the one to beat. Hargam back on better ground, I think, will benefit for that, and I'd see him being the main danger. So
yeah, which says well. Just realised that Maracuja is also in that race.
Yeah, it's
as well. He's engaged at Doncaster, but second preference is Cheltenham. So we will like to see him at Doncaster tomorrow. Kai Wills again, with Christmas approaching, this is a tough one. Can the panel give one horse over the festive period that will pay for the turkey?
Ooh, at the minute, oh god. I've got one actually. In Ladbroke next Saturday, I've got one for you. Pyromaniac. Just go look at his profile, and I think he's very interesting. Put it this way, he will not be 20-1 on the day. Merry Christmas.
Got this horse that's actually quite unexposed.
Yeah, because I'm 14.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know someone that's not going to be in a video next week. It's not a bad joke.
Getting too easy to predict. Like 14 winning. You're that easy to predict.
Well, he would pay for the turkey if he had enough on him.
I don't know. There's little anti-pose races so far, isn't there?
Kai, can you ask that question next week? I think we'll try and get back to you a bit better on that.
Dinas Place lay in the King George.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even better, ask us it on the 23rd. I think 23rd, maybe
24th.
24th. Whenever we do our Boxing Day video, then we'll tell you then. Be slightly easier. I have to say Merry Christmas to someone, which is really early. To Ian, Jill, and its partner Claire, who are avid watchers of On the Hoof. There's another word in there. But Merry Christmas to you guys.
Happy New Year.
Next week as well. Phil Dinsdale is part of the Mad Moose fan club. He goes, "Go Moosey, go."
I wonder if he's at Cheltenham tomorrow cheering him on.
Yeah. He's agreed with me saying you can already give Faheen the champion hurdle now anyway. And he's also got a question for Callum with 2 L's. Hey Callum, what do you think of the chances of Albert Dolivarte in the first at Lingfield? I really fancy this form.
Yeah, since I covered this race for Timeform today and I've tipped it up, so that's quite strange. Yeah, King Edmund's not won over hurdles yet, so he's finished second lots and lots of times and thought it ran a really promising debut, Albert Dolivarte, and any improvement I think could be enough to beat King Edmund. Yeah, good price.
Right. It's time for naps. Set tentatively. Adam.
Before I mention my nap, there's a horse that is running tomorrow at Lingfield, and I'm so happy to see him on the course in the Veterans Chase. A horse that me and Callum both have a love-hate relationship. West End Rocker.
I just love.
Love. Well, we both had him anti-post for the Grand National. I think. I don't know what price.
Love it.
Yeah.
Come on, break out into song.
Hey, love it.
Anyone can tell us what show that's from? Gold Star.
My nap tomorrow, I thought you ran really well at Newbury. I'm going to go with Solar Impulse and Handicap Chase. There's nothing really nap-worthy tomorrow, and he's the only one that I really would be interested in. But as I just said, West End Rocker, it'd be lovely to see him run a big race, and Tom Bellamy claiming 5 as well, so he's in for a good ride on West End Rocker tomorrow.
I know you like your liquor, but do you love West End Rocker more than you love your liquor?
Sorry?
Just quotes flying out now.
I don't know. He's got his ground tomorrow, hasn't he? West End Rocker. But yeah, it's also he's against perennial loser Tullamore Dew and Summary Justice and Fruitio Rooney. Has he got it in?
Fruitio Rooney will get a soft lead tomorrow. I'll give him that.
Look at that market; it's rancid.
Oh, God. Yeah, outsider of 4, Fruitio Rooney at 11-2, I think could be a price. But if he gets a soft lead, he could be interesting. He's not been in the same vein of form recently, however, but he has been consistent. You can give him that. But if he returns to his best, he'll have a chance.
What are you napping?
At a glance, it's the only horse. It's the only horse I fancy tomorrow.
Get a short price one. We can do a short price treble. On the other hoofers.
Well, I did have one, but then I was put off it by George.
Short price.
5. I don't know what price it is actually. I know the betting broadcast said it was 5.
Have you got one that's the favourite and you fancy?
Yeah.
Rock or Ruby?
Yeah, Rock on Ruby then. We'll put Rock on Ruby in a treble. My official nap is at a glance though. So are we doing this? And on the hoof treble? Yeah. Right. Who was your nap?
Yeah, I haven't even said it yet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Able Friend, Hong Kong Mile.
Right, okay, so the On the Other Hoof treble, the rules of On the Other Hoof multiples that haven't worked yet, I don't think, everyone that watches this has to put at least £1 on this treble of West End Rocker at Lingfield, Rock on Ruby in the Railkill at Cheltenham, and Able Friend
hang on. I didn't nap West End Rocker, I just mentioned him. And I napped Solar Impulse.
You're napping what?
Solar Impulse.
Well, what the hell were you talking about West End Rocker for then when I mentioned naps?
Before I mention my nap, I'd like to wish West End Rocker the best of luck tomorrow.
For God's sake.
Why do we have this guy on this show? He's an absolute muppet.
I said, you obviously weren't listening to me, like no.
Carnage.
No one ever listens to you.
Yes, I know, that's why I said before I did my nap.
Solar Impulse is your nap?
Yes.
What price is that?
What price is Solar Impulse?
Your favourite, I know that.
Well, that's not much of a help.
I don't know what price he is. I haven't
For
looked.
God's sake, Adam, you're not nap West End Rocker.
Alright, then I'll nap West End Rocker then.
No, you can't. No, you don't like him.
I do like him. But I'd rather not nap him for the curse, but oh well.
Solar Impulse.
It's 5-2 on him.
He doesn't win that.
Is there any danger for me as Bold Henry? I looked through the race. Parsnip Pete wants a flat track, and most of the others I just looked at and thought no. And
I was going to mention about Parsnip Pete because when I did that race earlier, I saw he was like 16 or 18 to 1.
He was a silly
boy. A
boy.
little bit big for the best horse in the race.
He ran a good race in it last year, actually. Mistakes cost him.
Yeah, and I wrote in my blog review that he needed a flat track.
Yes,
and then he
this
went
race last year can fall through.
He's like £10 lower. His jumping's better now, though.
Better at Aintree, I would say.
Yeah. And the ground's alright for him, so. Well, no, I don't know.
Are we put off the on the other hoof treble now?
No, I think it's a good bet.
With West End Rocker in, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Adam, shut up. The on the other hoof treble, rules are, everyone watching this has to put at least a £1 treble on, or however much you can afford, however much you wish to put on.
It's about 16 to 1.
16.88 to 1, apparently. The treble is West End Rocker at Lingfield in the Veterans Chase, Rock on Ruby in the Rail Kill at Cheltenham, the last race, and Able Friend in the Hong Kong Mile tomorrow morning. Or no, not tomorrow morning, is it?
Yeah, no, morning after.
2 mornings. Go.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Rain is falling.
Rain is falling. Able Friend in the Hong Kong Mile. So that is the treble. If the first 2 win, it's all onto your nap.
Oh no! Like, I'll mess it up. It's gonna be just the part S.
It's always you that messes it up.
Yeah.
Always you. But yeah, that's the on the hoof treble. We might tweet it if Adam can be bothered later on. Then we will tweet the treble. But everyone that's watching this and has watched us announce the treble, put a £1 on, and we will get poor together for Christmas. But that is pretty much all we've got time for this week, unfortunately. Fortunately, probably. Actually, yeah. Very fortunately. You don't have to look at Adam anymore. I'm looking forward to see if Mad Moose is going to Adam Webb it again tomorrow. But we'll see.
Couldn't care less.
Couldn't care less. Thank you everyone for watching On the Other Hoof this week. We'll be back next week at just after 8 o'clock again to preview a better weekend of racing. Probably no, it's not a better weekend of racing. Actually, no, it's not.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
it's Ladbroke, so
yes, okay.
It was an alright
good race.
Yeah, we got one good race. Tune in for that one good race, though. We're very hopeful that we might actually have another below average race. But until then, we'll see you next week here on the Other Hoof.